Okay, okay. Thank you so much, Girish, for your question. If you have follow-up, please continue posting them. Meanwhile, let me take Arpita's question also. Arpita says, what's the long-term impact of this lawsuit for immigrants who are still hoping to become US citizens? Would it make it more difficult for families to navigate the citizenship process in the future?
I think if you're here and you're on that path, it's not going to have any impact on you because all the executive order is doing is trying to limit, going forward from the date of that executive order, who qualifies as a U.S. citizen, when you're born here. So the lawsuit, the long-term impact of that is just returning us back to where we were at the day before that executive order, and how citizenship is dealt with. Now, whether or not USCIS and the Department of Homeland Security are going to make the naturalization process more difficult for people and for applicants, that is a possibility. I mean, that's something the executive order can do, or that the executive branch rather can do pretty easily, just by saying this is a higher priority. We need to investigate people more thoroughly. We need to make sure they qualify. Yeah, all of those things can impact the naturalization process. But in terms of birthright citizenship, the executive order's impact is going to be very short term, temporary, and limited. And I think we will return to birthright citizenship very soon.
Okay, okay. Sarvesh is also here, and Sarvesh wants to know that what role do you think international human rights laws, such as the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the Convention on the Human Rights of the Child, might play in shaping the court's decision, particularly with regards to principle of non-discrimination and the protection of vulnerable population, including immigrant children?
Yeah, so when it comes to international law, the courts don't really give it a whole lot of credence, to be honest. Yeah, if you make international law arguments in a federal court in the United States, it's like, oh, that's cute, that's nice, that's interesting. But anyway, let's focus on the real issue. Very, very, very few cases in the American judicial process have ever turned on immigration or international law, and so I wouldn't expect those conventions to sway anybody in the court.
Okay, okay. Let me quickly take Sanjay's question also. Sanjay says, how might the judicial outcome of this birthright citizenship case influence the evolutionary trajectory of US citizenship laws, and what potential far-reaching consequences could emerge for the future landscape of American immigration policy? What do you have to say, John?
So I think in terms of naturalization policy, again, the executive order limiting birthright citizenship, I don't think it's going to stand. I've been pretty clear about that. But changes to the naturalization process could take the form of statutory changes, limiting who's eligible for naturalization. That is something Congress can totally do, and they're authorized to do. And frankly, if Congress creates rules on naturalization that are more difficult, those are going to stand. The courts aren't going to overturn those. And so, that'll just be at the end of the political process, the political debate and codification of the law. So, if you look at our Congress, we haven't really accomplished any major legislation or major policy changes, especially in immigration, in decades. So I'm not expecting anything, dire or dramatic to happen anytime soon, just because, the procedure used in Congress to get things done is very unwieldy, very difficult, and hot issues, difficult issues tend not to get resolved because they're too difficult to resolve.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, John, for answering all these questions. I think we have covered all the questions from the viewers as well. But with that, I would also like to know from you that what more can we expect? It's just been a day since Trump has taken the office, but what more can we expect in terms of, what might happen to immigrants and immigration policies and visas? So what more can we expect in that
I
regard?
think if you're outside the US, you can expect the consular process to be much more difficult, much more limited. I think they will scale back appointments. they'll make everything as hard as possible to get a visa, and then at the port of entry, there's going to be much more scrutiny. So if there's anything in your immigration history that's been flagged, you're not going to know about it until you get to the port of entry, and you may face questions about something that happened a decade ago, in your immigration process. So I think those types of things are what we should expect, especially for the H-1B population. I expect that the FDNS, which is a branch of USCIS that is like their immigration Gestapo, that goes out and does these visits and harasses H-1Bs. I think those investigations are going to increase dramatically. And the important thing for that population to understand is that they have a right to a lawyer in that situation. And having a lawyer represent you in those cases is about the only way that you can protect yourself from getting bullied and pushed around and having your statements twisted and mischaracterized in some report that is going to impact your immigration future forever. So I would say get with an attorney immediately, have a what's called a Form G28 signed between you and the attorney. And if there's ever a FDNS officer that shows up on your doorstep or comes to your work, give them a copy of that G28 and say, I have a right to a lawyer. I'm using that right. Please contact my lawyer for further inquiries on this issue, and leave it at that. And don't let yourself get bullied into talking further.
That's a great advice. Thank you so much for that, John. And guys, if you want to directly get in touch with John, make sure that you give him a call on the number 844-592-7336. Yes, I would like to repeat the number 844-592-7336. You can also email him. His email ID is support@waston.law. And you can also visit his website, which is www.waston.law. So make sure that you give him a call, reach out to him on his email, and you can also visit his website. Thank you so much, John, for being here. It was great speaking with you. Thank you so much for your insightful answers on all these trending questions. People are really looking to get an answer for these questions. So thank you so much for answering them in so much detail and depth. And we're looking forward to doing another great episode with you on another great topic. But until we meet again, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. It's good talking to you.
Likewise. Thank you so much. And to our lovely viewers, thank you so much for posting so many questions of yours, and we enjoyed taking them. Thank you so much for that. And we are going to see you very soon in another webinar. And we are going to have another webinar at 12, so make sure that you tune into that. And if you want to get in touch with me, my number is 732-707-9151. My email is rajni@staffingly.com. So if you have any queries for me, make sure that you give me a call, send me a text, or maybe email me. But for now, I'll have to take your leave. I'll be seeing you soon on another webinar. But for now, I'll have to take your leave. Make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this episode with anyone looking for answers to these questions. But for now, have a great day. And I'm Rajni, signing off. Bye. Take care.